Looks like the stream is going. Hi everyone, I'm TigerHawk3, and today we're going to take a look at Python's Pickle module. This module preserves your data by pickling it. You have to have a printer connected to your machine, and then you print out your data, and then you put vinegar on the pages, and you soak it there for like 8 weeks or so, and that is not what it is. Let's take a look. Start up the interpreter. Import pickle. Okay. I'm going to actually put OS and change the directory to C users. Actually, I can just do desktop. Could have done this before starting the interpreter, but that's okay. So now I'm working on the desktop. Great. Okay. The Pickle module actually has a lot of stuff in the documentation about it. And there are mostly 4 useful functions. I'm sure everything here is useful. No offense intended, Python. But for very common tasks, I would say that most people working with this module will probably want. As it says in the stream description, this is different from just opening a file and saying like write for whatever data string you have. Like if you have students with class scores, you would write, Alice and then a space, and then 95, and then Bob and a space, and 93, and Charlie and a space, and 96, with like separated by with a new name on each line. And when you wanted to write that, you would basically go for for name score in data, output.write with a format string, and put the name and the score in the thing. And when you wanted to read it back in, you would have to go for line in file, data.append line.split or something. So that's a lot of work to save stuff, but the benefit to that is that you can look at that text file of stuff that you saved and see, a name and a score. So that's one big reason to do it. Human-readable is what that's called, meaning literally a human can read it and make sense of it. And this has a comparison with JSON, which is maybe another module that we'll go through. That's JavaScript object notation. It lets you basically, it's a standardized format for creating basically dictionaries out of complex objects and writing those dictionaries to a file. And everything in it is a string. Strings and dictionaries, that's all it is. JSON is used in many places. Pickle is just for Python. JSON can only represent a subset of Python's built-in types, but Pickle can do a lot. Data stream format, etc., etc. It's just a binary file. You can't like open it up with Notepad and see the names and scores that you save with Pickle. There's lots of protocol versions, 0 through 4. More efficient pickling here. Binary. Oh, protocol version 0 was human-readable. Wow. Instead of just binary stuff. Okay. Alright. Protocols. Here we go. The 4 functions that you are most likely to use are dump, dumps, load, and loads. And the difference between those two names, those two kind of formats, the singular and plural, or, you know, different kinds of verbs. Anyway, with and without an S is one of them is for writing to or reading from a specified file object, and the other is for working with objects within your program. One of them is for working with objects. No. Dump writes a pickled representation of that object to a file object. Dumps returns that pickled representation as a bytes object. Like you would go my data equals pickle.dumps my object. And then you would go from, your object, which might be a list, to a bytes representation of that list. Maybe you want to do that. Might make it easier to send it with some internet protocol. I don't know. Loads from a file object, and loads reads a bytes object. So let's look at those. What can Pickle read and write? Does that say somewhere over here? I think it said somewhere. Where was that? I went over this earlier and I saw something about it. It handles most types of objects, the primitives, string, bytes, int, float, complex, list, dictionary, whatever. It's not a very easily pronounced abbreviation, but dictionary, set, all that stuff. There we go. The following types can be pickled: none, true, and false. So that's none type, booleans, integers, floating point, complex, string, bytes, byte array, tuples, lists, sets, dictionaries, as long as they only have references to pickleable objects and it pickles everything inside them. Functions defined at the top level of a module, but you have to have an explicit, def my function something instead of just my func equals lambda whatever, right? Because every lambda function has the same name, and that name is lambda. So it doesn't really deal with those properly. Lambda is not for persistent objects and saving stuff, and it's when you need like just a little bit of a convenience helper function somewhere. It can pickle built-in functions defined at the top level of a module, or classes defined at the top level of a module. Instances of such classes whose dict or the result of calling getState is pickleable. So that's lots of things. So that's cool. It's very handy. All right. Let's go to those examples and do stuff. Okay. Data equals what kind of data are we going to have? How about something with a dictionary and strings and numbers and lists? I don't know. Alice. How about this? 5, 5, and 6. And then Bob will have 4, 6, and 5. I need to actually put that inside this. That's kind of important. And Charlie will have 3, 3, and again, seriously, 3, 3, and 7. Neat. Those are our data. Data is plural. Okay. Let's use dumps first. Dumped equals pickle dot dumps. And we want the object first, and that's data. Protocol, I don't think we need to mess with. You can go 0 to highest protocol. The default is default protocol. I don't know what that is. If you pick a negative number, it'll choose the highest number. Okay, let's leave the default protocol. Other stuff? There's just star. Is there more stuff? It doesn't say. Object, protocol equals none. Star, fix imports equals true. I don't know what else I would send there. Fix imports. If the protocol is less than 3, Pickle will try to map the new Python 3 names to the old module names used in Python 2, so that it's readable in Python 2. No. Don't need any of that. What does this do? I don't know. Not human readable, as you can see. Let's do a pickle.loads of a bytes object, which is this, the dumped thing. Fix imports, encoding errors. No, I don't think I need any of that. Encoding. Why do we care that the encoding is ASCII? Oh, the encoding and errors tell Pickle how to decode 8-bit string instances pickled by Python 2. These default to ASCII and strict respectively. The encoding can be bytes. To read these 8-bit string instances as bytes object, don't use Python 2. I'm just flat out telling you right now, don't do it. Because there's a reason that Python 3 was developed and is still being worked on, and that's because Python 3 is better. They saw a whole bunch of, frankly, mistakes, and that's not terrible necessarily. Everyone makes mistakes. They saw mistakes in Python 2 that it's like, you know, we did this, but probably wasn't the best idea. Like print, for example, being a statement. It's better as a function. Makes more sense. And is more powerful, actually, as a function than as a statement. So that sort of thing, and a whole bunch of other stuff, means Python 3. So there we go. And so I can just end that, and what do you think we'll get? That's what we had, and we have unpickled it. And now that we have unpickled it, we can We have opened the pickled object. We can eat it. Pickled foods are good. I like beets. Pickled beets. I don't know why, but vinegar is tasty. Tasty. Have you ever had vinegar and onion, I think? Or vinegar and sour cream? Vinegar and something potato chips. Yum. Okay, let's do the following. With open pickled.pkl, this name doesn't actually matter, by the way. This is the base name if you were here for the os.path session a couple days ago, that stream. The base name, this doesn't matter, and the extension is only there to tell your computer what program should probably be used to interact with that. So, pickle.pkl, and I need write bytes. If I had a regular text file that I wanted to write, it would just be W for write mode. I need to write bytes specifically. As output, pickle.dump data. What did I do? Oh, I need to say the file object. Sorry, required argument file. Oh, did I do something extra wrong? No, object and file. Okay. Data and output. There we go. And I can open. I'm going to open this in read mode now, and I'm going to call it F. Print F. Dot read. There we go. It had a funny character, and it can't handle it. Let's see if I just, spit the repro to the interpreter. That it can do. So it's just a bunch of bytes. It doesn't know how to print these random bytes that don't map to, don't actually map to characters. It's not text at all. At all. It doesn't try to be. But what we can do is we're going to open this and then print no. I need to read bytes. There we go. And then I'm gonna say just show me pickle dot load F. Correct? Let me double check my pickle.load from the file, return the thing. Okay. Neat. So that's the basics. You can write to and read from a file, or you can write to and read from a bytes object. So that's pretty cool. I think technically, if we want, we could could we do this? Because is that a bytes object? No. Would this do anything? No. Oh, because it has to be an actual file description. So that would be load. I think the naming scheme for this is bad. Dumps, loads. It's not intuitive which one is which. And I always forget. Without an S is with a file. With an S is bytes object. Okay. Let's try this. I have dumped. Right, that's the thing. Let's try with open pickled.pkl. Write bytes has output, and output.write, and I'm gonna write the dumped data. Okay. And then I'm going to open this with read bytes. And I'm going to now do pickle dot with the S, without the S. Load, because it's a file. It's not actually output. It should have been file or F or something. That's okay. And there we go. So instead of telling the pickle module to create a pickled bytes representation of my object and then immediately write it to a file, I just told it to return the bytes object to me without doing anything else with it, and then I opened a file for writing and said, write this bytes object that I got. Let's see if I can what did I want to do? I wrote to a bytes object and then wrote the bytes object to a file. Let's see if I can get the data from the file written into a bytes object and then read that bytes object with pickle. Read bytes as F. Pickle.load f.read. Would it be that? No. Let's see what we've got. A whole bunch of stuff. Is there a read? Read line, read. There is a read. So how would I read a bytes object? File must have read and read line attributes. It doesn't. Is there a read bytes? I don't know. Close, closed, detach, file number, flush, is ATI, is attribute, I guess. Mode, name, peak, raw, raw. Help, f.raw. What is that? Read, read one, readable, read into, read into? What does that do? Read lines, seek, seekable, tell, truncate, writable, write lines. Okay. Goodness gracious. Close file number. Is that a readable? Read into? Same as raw IO base dot read into. That doesn't help. Flush, read lines. I don't know. How do I read bytes? How do I read bytes from a file? Can I read the whole thing? I'm saying that I need to read a certain number of bytes. Can I read all the bytes? I don't know how to do that. Would be nice if I did. I've never had to do it before. Bytes object. I don't know why read doesn't read the entire file, but it was angry at me when I tried to do that. I can get the object's position in the file, seek, etc. Read a certain number of bytes. That doesn't help. How the heck do I read bytes from a file that contains bytes? That's my question. Right? Yeah? Okay, now I've saved it. Pickle dot with the S or without the S? I can literally never remember. Crikey. If we add the S, we take out the file object. Okay. So if there's no file, we want load. No, that is a file. It's loads. That's a byte object. Loads from D. There we are. So now you can see that after lots of messing around, I don't know why it wasn't working before, but you can use dump and load to create a pickled bytes object out of your data, whatever it is, and immediately write it to the given file, and read from a given file, and unpack the pickled object, read the pickled bytes representation into a Python object, respectively. Or you can use dumps and loads to create a pickled bytes representation or read a pickled bytes representation, respectively. And you can even use the versions that just read and write just the bytes object, and then get those out of the file yourself, or put in, whatever. It's basically dump and load are similar to dumps and loads, only you don't have to work with the bytes object itself. You just kind of tell it what file you want to work with. So I guess it's a convenience if you're just going to be saving to a file on your computer. Clear as mud. I really wish they would have different names. Or maybe just dump and load, and you could specify a file equals something, and it would have a different behavior. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be nice, because they do the same thing. Except without the S, it says, oh, and also do something with a file. Imagine if there was a print function and a prints function, and prints expected a file object. But no, the way print actually works is you have your print your data, and then file equals none, and what else do we have? Sep equals space, end equals a new line, flush equals true. That's the method signature for print. Notice we have file equals none. So if you want, you can add a file handle over there, and it'll say, oh, I'll print to the file instead of to the console, right? Or you can say file equals, sys.standardout, which is what you get by default. But it's not two different functions with an unclear name, and one just also works with a file. So anyway, handy module. I used this in the Star Trek Online loop parser because it saves a lot of space and it's faster to parse instead of reading through a whole bunch of text through like a few dozen megs. It takes 30 seconds, a minute, etc. Whereas just reading the pickled object is nearly instant. It's very fast. So I think that'll be the stream. And thank you for joining me. I don't think anyone joined me today, but that's okay. Thank you. And I will see you next time. Tomorrow has games, something, I don't know. And that's it. Have a good one.